levels of access and equal availability to guide our work. In producing utility, we value inclusivity, not only in the park, but also in the process of determining improvements. We want to promote physical as well as emotional connections between neighbors and with the park. Next slide, please. So in addition to the key contributors we just covered, other inputs such as safety guidelines and community feedback are considered in guiding us in our decision making. But that's why you're here tonight. One more time, this meeting is just a part of the community input we need from you. The conversation, again, is bigger than just this presentation. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to the design team for their portion of tonight's program. Jennifer Kaki, you have our attention. Thank
Great.
you.
Excellent. Thanks everyone for being here. We love this process and we love working on neighborhood parks, and this is no exception. So we're excited about kicking off this process with all of you. Um, we're gonna sort of just do some big overview, look at some larger scale issues, and then we're gonna slowly get in closer and closer into actual elements on the park. But we always like to sort of zoom out and look at things in context. And this you can see right there in the middle, the sort of L-shaped green space there is Penniman, and we are really aware about the proximity to the Massachusetts Turnpike, I-90, and also that you have some crossing. So some of your crossing to your 5-minute, 10-minute walk, or your 15 to 20-minute walk, 1 mile, takes you across towards the Charles River and across the Turnpike. But we're just sort of looking at where Penniman sits in a larger constellation of open spaces, and there is Ringer is somewhat nearby, within 10 minutes walk from Penniman. But other than that, really, Penniman is a really important open space in this part of Boston. And if we look at the same question in terms of what amenities, who's hanging out around here and who's near here, we know that there's the Islamic centers nearby, there's daycare center, Union Square Plaza's nearby, and Jackson Man Community Center is very close by as well. So there's a really rich neighborhood here of folks who are near the park and would have use for the park. And so hopefully folks are here today, but there's a nice sort of collection of other activities happening nearby. Transit, this park is really easily gotten to on a variety of bus routes, which is really great. And as we said, kind of there's a lot happening within walking distance, but really nicely situated on several bus lines. Oh, thanks, Keisha, for that. Adding in, we missed something. The Hano Street Homes Association is across the street. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll add that in. So the other thing we do is when we arrive at a new site is we want to sort of think about, well, what's here? And that's really what we're going to share back with you tonight. And we want you to we'll have a sort of structured conversation toward the end of the presentation to hear what you think as well. So if we go to the next slide, we always look to the past as well. And the truth is this park has had a lot of sort of changes, but I think the main takeaway of this timeline is that we're in 2025 and the last date there was over 20 years ago. So we are saying back to you something that you all already know, which is that this park really is ready and needing and deserving of a facelift and some renovation. We also just know that this is as I've sort of said from the context diagrams, that this is a really rich community with all sorts of people and ages living nearby, doing activities nearby. And this is probably just a small sampling of what happens in terms of community events in this neighborhood. But we know it's a really active neighborhood, and we're excited about having the park kind of come back into the fold in a more vibrant way for all of your activities. So now we're really looking at the site itself. And this is a sort of very simple diagram that really sort of shows the kind of clarity of different programs that are currently out on the site. And this is all, again, probably things that you all sort of know, and we're sort of spitting it back to you in these kind of clear graphic formats. So if we look toward the top of the page, the north edge of the parcel, that's mostly an open lawn. There's some circulation and seating there, but that's sort of the large lawn space. At the sort of bottom corner is the court, the basketball court, and then in between, we know the garden is sort of tucked between the lawn and the court. The playground is off there to the west, and one observation we have is that a lot of the seating is sort of feels kind of at the edge or outside of some of the primary program zones. But we'll get into that a little bit more. So part of what sort of divides up these spaces are quite an array of fences. We were sort of at a minimum, there are 4 different fence types out there, in addition to what is called a bollard, which you can see mostly in the upper right photo, which is sort of a steel, typically a steel column, as a sort of another type of barrier. Um, and so there's sort of layers of this condition that happen at the park. And it sort of reinforces in some cases the sort of different program rooms. And we think in some cases is probably prohibiting certain types of movements through the park. We go to the next one. And this is sort of really demonstrated by how the circulation is really, especially that bottom right image between the play and the basketball court, the fences really start to create kind of a corridor feeling that's running between those 2 program rooms. So there feels like there's maybe some duplication here that is perhaps not needed in a renovation, and that there's a way to kind of a little bit, think about how we might open up some of this and make sure that arrival to the park feels open and welcoming, and that movement through areas that can be moved through makes sense. Now, a basketball court needs fencing, so we're certainly not. I'm not suggesting anything like that, but this example on the bottom right, where there's really a corridor between 2 fences, is something that has really struck us about how some of the current conditions maybe hamper um, some movements through the park. Okay, next slide. So seating, I touched on a little bit. There, a few kind of older wooden slat benches around the play and the edge of the basketball that really feel outside, or at the edge. And then the lawn area does have a couple of picnic tables and another bench we're calling the art bench. I don't know if you all would would call it that, but it has this sort of horseshoe like, or it's like an old telephone receiver shape, but that's also there. It doesn't have backs. It's probably not the most comfortable bench to spend any um, time on necessarily, but so the seating is somewhat limited and out at the edges. And yes, Lily, so maybe we're elevating it to bench, but we've also had the same conversation that we thought it probably is used for skateboards as well. So it's a hybrid bench skateboard ramp. Another huge asset of this park are the existing trees. There's one, that really big shape you see there right in the middle is a really strikingly remarkable tree. It's, as we understand it, about 48 inches in caliber around. It's a London plane tree, and it sort of is sort of a signal. It's almost like a sign from down the street or from many different directions. You're sort of aware that you're coming up on the park. It's quite a remarkable asset. And then along the play edge really is quite a dense canopy. There's a lot of shade there, in these sort of increasingly hot summers we're having. And we were out there on quite a hot day. That shade was very welcomed. So there's quite a dense grove, or really line of trees along the play edge. And then up on the lawn space, there's sort of an array of trees. There's some evergreens, some deciduous trees that lose their leaves. You can see in the upper right that beautiful red fall color happening. Um, we're also aware that some of these trees have been sort of limbed up to make sure that there's clear sight lines through the backside of that lawn space as well, which makes sense and helps out for just people feeling safe in the park at all times. So, we had sent out, if you go to the next page, Jen, a survey, a pulse survey. Have received over 35 responses. Hopefully, some of you on the line here with us responded to it. If you missed it, that's okay. But we asked three really simple questions, which are listed here. And the next page really shows a variety of some key quotes that we heard. And if I were to sort of summarize, what we were really struck by is how really loved the park is, how well used the park is, and that it's done so with by many different types of people. And also, the clear sentiment that there's a lot of room for improvement, to make it function better, to make it feel less like a sort of hard space, more green. And that's certainly the play equipment and the courts. Everything needs to be kind of redone and refaced. So there were some really great moments of really clear quotes that get at how strongly and what a strong community and neighborhood you all have. And we want to, that really means a lot to us. And that's, keeping that and having you feel even more strongly and happy about this park once we're through is really our goal as the landscape architects. So, we're going to sort of now kick off what will be a kind of more conversational part of the evening, and sort of using our diagram that I'd shown before of the different rooms. We're going to sort of move room by room and have conversation about each of these areas. And it helps us to sort of just categorize and make sure we're hearing specifics and drilling down in each area. So if you really want to talk about play, that's great. And if you could just hang on until we get to the playground page, we would appreciate it. So we're going to start off with the lawn space. Here's a kind of a big, broad, kind of panoramic view of it, looking back kind of across the street. So you can see the picnic tables and the lawn in front of us. So we're curious about how you use the lawn. What do you value most about having the open lawn? And looking to the future park design, what would you wish for the open lawn? And so Hannah has also written them into the chat. Feel free to respond in the chat, but we also really welcome raising of hand, and Michael can unmute you and have you join in conversation if you are up for that.
And really, we're in the sort of information gathering phase. So if there's something else that you want to tell us about the open lawn or any of these sort of program areas as we get to them, you know, prompts are just there to help start the conversation.
That's right. You can really say whatever you want, but we just wanted to prompt some questions. So any feedback on this lawn area? Okay, Lily, thanks. It feels disconnected from the rest of the park. Um, And that sounds like you agree with the observation about all the fences. So yeah, I mean, we get that moving from the lawn area to the basketball court, you sort of go out onto the sidewalk, and to move. So for some folks, it could almost feel like a separate space. It is all considered Penniman, um, uh, but I understand the feeling of it being disconnected. Does that make you feel as if you don't use it as much? I'm curious sort of how that translates to how you use the space. And Shannon's reiterating that too, that it feels hidden away and you didn't realize how large it was. And David agrees.
Right.
Yeah. Um, are there things that, if you saw more benches, what might draw you in to have you spend time there? Okay, and Danielle is saying you don't use it much because there's concern about rodent activity, but you see the church group that uses it to play volleyball. Great, that's helpful. And rats, Shannon's reiterating the rodent issue. Okay, noted. Noted, that's helpful information.
So, hi, my name's Latanya. Can I, instead of chatting in the chat, can I
You
just
bet.
add
We would love
comments
that.
We'd love
here?
that. Yeah.
Well, thank you first and foremost for this very informative meeting. It really makes I think all of us feel inclusive and involved in the planning. So good
Great.
tactic. So I appreciate that.
Great.
The lawn space is so multi-purpose use. A lot of people walk their dogs over here, and I previously used to walk up my dog over there, but after a while, it just becomes a cesspool, because no one picks up after their dog. So
Uh-huh.
there needs to be some level of organized, dedicated spaces for this really big section. Also in those two back corners there where the trees are, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of our unfortunate homeless neighbors also reside there in certain
Mm-hmm.
times of year, or they store their carts there, their bikes, whatever it is that they're carrying on them. They use those two corners for storage because it's really dark in that area and secluded.
Mm-hmm.
So it's safe harbor space for them. So
Yeah.
I think you really need to, number one, designate, like almost allocate certain sections of the park for designated use, right?
Mm-hmm.
Portion them off. And then those trees just have to go, right? They're not serving their purpose anymore. I just think that they're really unkept. No one's looking after it. Um, and then if you just compartmentalize the park a little bit better, I think it'll be more proactively used for multiple purposes, right? Instead of the way it's being used now, very randomly, for any and everybody and anything. So yeah,
Okay, so to sort of summarize, and you said you're coming up as Keisha, but you're saying you're
yep.
Latanya, is
I'm
that right?
Latanya. Yep,
You're
I
Latanya,
live
yeah,
Okay.
okay,
we live like some of us live right across the street. We're Hanover Homes Association,
Mhm.
great,
so we're directly across the street from the park.
great. So I think, Latanya, we're hearing you advocating for a sort of dedicated space. So are you saying if there's a active volleyball, you're saying then put in volleyball court space? Is that what I'm hearing? Or and then you're sort of also saying dedicated dog space, is that a way of describing what you're saying?
Yeah, just you're right. Dedicated spaces allocated for certain activities so that people, almost like a guide, people are using the space as you design it to be
Mhm.
used without having being told how to use it. I don't know another better way to say it, but
Okay.
it's almost like a, a guide.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
so the open flexibility of it, you're thinking is maybe doesn't feel like the right approach.
Right, because people are going to use it randomly for different things at different times. Like you have people that have birthday parties there, they have cookouts there,
Mm-hmm.
they have community church events there. But then you have, again, our homeless neighbors use it. Then you have
Yeah.
our dog neighbors use it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so everyone really is using it just because it's open, but they don't really know how to use it other than how they want to. Um, so that's what you kind of want people to design it in a way that people can go in and say, oh, this is the sitting area. This is where I'll watch my toddlers. This is where I can sit and watch my dog. This is
Uh-huh.
where I can have a little picnic or green space, right? So it's that.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks for clarifying. And I think David in the chat is um saying yes. Is there possible to subdivide it
I just
between?
wanted to jump in here real quick,
Yeah.
Kathy. Latanya, first of all, thank you for sharing today. I do think you're kind of onto something that we genuinely agree with insofar as this space feels a little ambiguous. It's not really activated by anything, and that's because there's no real clear programming, like you're saying. People come here for what they want, but it's not clear what they're supposed to be doing here. So we're just kind of wondering if this space would be better used, how we could activate it a little bit more, what sort of purposes you'd like to see out there. But I think in general, that's a really good observation you've made. So thank you again.
Thank you for listening.
It looks like Lily has her hand raised.
I just wanted to plus one what Latanya said. I also live in the building across the street. And this area is a little random. I get the point that it's supposed to be like a flexible open area, but
Mhm.
it doesn't do any of those things that it's meant to flex to do well at all. So like if it's supposed
Right.
to be a gathering area, that like one picnic table in the sun's not really attractive for that. And
Right.
and then the grass is broken up by these paths into this random circle. So like I just don't really know what the purpose is. So great points, Latanya.
That's great. Helpful. Helpful.
Do you think connectivity would help it somehow so that it doesn't feel like it's totally separate from the other program areas? Okay, let's move on.
Nice idea, David. Great. Thank you for
Oh,
those amenity suggestions in the chat.
oh yeah, those
Great.
are great.
Are folks feeling comfortable? We'll move to the next area, which is the garden. I don't know if we have any active gardeners in here with us tonight, but hopefully. So sort of similar set of questions. How often do you visit? What do you value most about it? And what would you hope for its future? So again, please feel free to raise your hand and um, speak, or if you're more comfortable in the chat, that's great too. So any feedback about the garden?
I don't want to take up all the airtime, but my mom does have a plot in the garden, and I know several of our neighbors in this building who English is their first language. So, but I know the main thing that my mom struggles with, for example, is the rats. She has a plot that's like right on the very edge of the garden that borders the
Okay.
housing back there, and they're just constantly digging. And I know she's been fighting them for years. But otherwise, the garden is super well used. And I know they have a little group of people that organize everything that goes on there, and they do a super good job. But I just know they've been fighting rats forever.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Any other feedback about the gardens?
I second what Lily says. I used to have a spot as well, but we gave it up due to the rat issues. Um, yeah, otherwise, like it's a great community. All the neighbors come out on a daily basis and it's really well used.
Great. Thank you, Danielle.
I just wanted to say quickly, I love the community garden, but we've had questions from constituents who, walk by it and it's are not sure how to get in touch with anyone about it or how to get on a wait list or anything like that. I'm not sure the sign there has any sort of contact information. So just maybe just more information about like how to get involved on site would be helpful.
Great. Moira, thanks.
Lily also wrote a comment about sort of overall layout as well.
I was just about to respond. Lily, we know we also have discussed that the garden is pretty much in the middle of the park, which inevitably splits the other rooms, but we're not intending to change the location of the garden or change the number of plots either. Just so
Right.
everyone knows.
Right. I will also add that Grow Boston, which is responsible for community gardens throughout the city, is a part of the urban agriculture department. So it's something we work on in collaboration with them. It's not something that's entirely the responsibility of parks.
Parks, yeah. In terms of the signage, Max, right? In terms of we're getting more robust signage.
That's right.
To Moira's comments, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And someone who asked, or I guess Lily, you mentioned it. I mean, it would be quite an endeavor to make that kind of a move. So the intention is to have them remain in place, the same number of plots as Hannah said. Yes, please pass that on to your mom and her gardener pals. So let's move on to the playground. Sort of similar set of questions. How often do you visit? What do you value most about it? And what would your hope and wish be about the playground being transformed? Are there any kids on the line with any feedback tonight?
Hi. Am I able to? I remember the rule. I can't. Might not be on camera. What is the exact? Or is it just voice?
You're good, David. Go ahead.
Oh.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. We like seeing real faces. Thank you.
Hi. My name is David. I live in Lower Alston. Been a resident here for about 6-7 years. I run a local small business called The Commons, and it is a parkour business. And I don't know if everyone in this group knows what parkour is. Kind of like skateboarding, except it's no skateboard. Really bad analogy, but you jump on things and utilize urban spaces and activate urban spaces. And it's very popular in Boston. The reason why I'm here today, and I know it's probably a long shot, especially for a lot of the folks in the neighborhood that live here, but Alston in particular and greater Boston area is one of the most active areas in the country for parkour. Somerville has 2 parkour parks. Roslindale has a designated parkour park and play area and movement activation space. And that's something that I feel very passionately about in Alston as like a shared multi-purpose like movement activation space. In Lower Alston, we have Smith Playground, which has like a hockey rink. And they do stuff like bike polo in there and roller derby nights and stuff, and that's awesome. They have a pump track and a skate park, but nowhere where you like don't need equipment to like just go like exercise and move your body for all ages. And I personally feel very passionately about that. I've been to the park a good couple of times, and it's like pretty run down. It's hard for me to even like utilize the space, and I know it is a children's park, so it's not even for me, but it would be very well trafficked and well utilized by other residents of the area that are into fitness and moving your body if it was used for that space. So that is my piece. Actually, I have one more bit on top of that. There's an event I run every year that is like a parkour and movement arts festival. It's now become the biggest in the country and it's international people coming to it. It's hosted in Alston. The event is actually this Friday in Smith Playground, and it's massive. It's huge, and that community also would love like a designated space, you know. So that is my continued piece. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. So yeah, so Smith, just for everyone's reference, we could, I mean, we don't need to go back to it, but in that sort of larger context of parks and open spaces, that Smith park that you're mentioning in the skate park is, you know, within the 1 mile range, you know, the sort of 15 to 22-minute walk or a little bit less from Penniman, just so everyone is clear, you know, to the north.
I'm not aware of where that park is. Smith, is it?
So Jen, let's just go back to
Let's
that
see.
slide if you don't mind.
Yeah, let me stop
slide
sharing
13.
so I'm not, yeah.
It's slide 13. I sort of breezed over some of these a little bit, but just to orient people after David's comments. So Jen, can you maybe
Are you?
point up to Smith?
Yep,
Yeah, there we go. So, you know, that's in that outer dashed ring is representing kind of the mile distance from Penniman. So it's north across the pike, and is, you know, a pretty significant park space closer to the Charles River, which you can see snaking
Okay,
through there in blue, to just sort of orient everybody to where David was
got it.
mentioning. Yeah,
Thank you.
great.
See if I can pause the share so I can get back to our.
Great.
Great feedback about fitness, active movement, and I like what you called it, a movement activation space, thinking about all ages and sort of physical confidence and sort of community building that way.
So great. Yeah. More others saying, yeah, some exercise space for, there are lots of seniors. Lily is saying, she's sort of, there's folks sort of seconding and even more that that's exercise for seniors would be great. And then Danielle is saying that the playground's really well loved. Lots of kids live on Haino Street and the childcare uses the playground daily as well. So yes, we are aware, and I think we'll need to talk to them more specifically if there aren't folks from the daycare here with us tonight. But anyone else have any, you know, it's clearly the you know, it's been a while since the play equipment's been renovated. If anybody has any specific wishes about it. But I love the idea of all ages. Anyone have any comments about the idea that, and you can see that in the bottom right image, that sort of seating seems to be outside of the play area actually. Danielle, great comment. Could there be water feature to cool off? That's a great prompt for us to think about
Even
with Max.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
Even the ground, right? So that asphalt is not the best, and with our increasing hot summers.
Yes.
Can we get something that's more, I don't know the right word to say it, but a more durable, softer but sturdy. I've seen this material in some of the parks, in the park alongside Western Avenue, right in that Harvard Square, Alston corridor, Western Avenue, and Harvard Street.
Yeah.
There is this the it's not, the park has asphalt, but there's a play area there, or like almost with a jungle gym on top of it. But the meshing is very soft underneath your feet.
Yeah.
And it's cushioning for the kids when they're up and down the slides or on the swings. And I don't know if that material is better in terms of less heat, storage than asphalt is when for our even longer, hotter summers that are happening over the years,
Yep.
right? So I think that will be more, that'll just be more welcoming and friendly. I just not to even look at the asphalt, number one, in the play area.
Yes. Yes. And really, it doesn't look like it, but it is actually sort of a squishy, rubbery material. It just, for whatever reason, the color that was chosen is makes it look like asphalt. And so, yes, you're absolutely right. We'll be able to have, it'll be more permeable, meaning stormwater will be able to sort of move through it. And it will not feel like asphalt.
Absolutely. Just want to jump in here. Again, great question and great insights. I just wanted to point out that what you're describing is a material called poured in place rubber, and it is a standard that Boston uses in all of its new playground projects. So.
Yes. Yep. Great.
Lily,
So
good comment about, oh, sorry. Keep going.
I'm sorry, what did that mean? Does that mean that the coloring of it cannot be changed, or?
No. What? So ultimately, we'll have a new surface that is kind of that squishy safety material that you had described. We're not quite to color palettes yet, but it certainly won't be asphalt color.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just feel like this is an opportunity to brighten up the neighborhood with
Yes.
color.
Yes.
So the more color, the better.
Yes. Great.
Love that. Thank you.
To the earlier question about the seating being outside, I live across the street and I didn't even realize there were benches there. So it would be great if they were more integrated into the park. And I think that bottom right picture, it's really clear that the fencing is an issue. And I'm mad I never thought about this before, but I feel like it really limits the space that we have for the playground, actually, because we have
Yes.
too many fences there for some
Yes.
reason.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. We think you're right that there's some lost square footage, actually. Yeah. Mason Blue, thank you for those comments. Kind of again getting at this issue of space designed for a mix of programming. To not to sort of get too sort of technical, but when it comes to play spaces for young children, there are some sort of standards around safety and the need to make sure that there are what are called fall heights. So space needs to be designed around the pieces. And we need to really focus on how a caregiver, can keep eyes on a child they are watching. So mixing a lot of adult exercise in with children's play areas is something that we need to give a lot of consideration to. I want to just sort of throw that out as a little bit of a heads up for folks that it's not quite as simple as meshing everybody together all in one space, even though the idea of it is really delightful. So I you know, we're going to try to strike the right balance in that regard.
I think there are some earlier comments as well about shade in the playground, and making
Yeah, great.
sure that there's a good distribution of shade.
Great.
And just to say another thing about fencing, what was the plans for fencing? I heard earlier that there's different types of fencing, but
Yeah,
what are the plans for fencing?
yeah, Latanya, we don't have any plans. So this
Oh,
is the meeting with us having no plans. This is the meeting where we're saying, wow, there's a lot of potential for change here. And we
even
want
better.
to hear your ideas. So we were just making the observation that there are 4 or 5 different types of fencing out there, and there seems to be places where there's duplication of fence that, you know, seems potentially unnecessary. So um everything is up in the air.
Okay. Because the reason I asked is there's this playground in the South End called Sparrow Park.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys are familiar with it, it's really an old playground, but it's surrounded by all brownstones, and it cuts through um the Mass Ave corridor,
Oh yeah.
right? It has a bike path along it,
Hmm.
but that park almost like compartmentalizes. It has a basketball court, it has this green space, but they also have figured out a way to add fencing, really nice fencing, like that wrought black iron fencing on the side where it's mostly residential area. And
Hmm.
it makes aesthetically it's so pleasing. So like number one, straightforward, I'm asking, get rid of any barbed wire type of fencing, right? That needs to go. It
Yep.
just doesn't set the tone. I think it's kind of almost outdated. It just looks like something very cage like. I just don't like that kind of fencing. I think the fencing can be so much more aesthetically pleasing and friendlier to the eyes, right? And more
Hmm.
inviting, almost like a little village that you're walking into when you walk into the park. So I'm pretty much asking to do something other than the whatever that
Yeah,
kind of
it's called
fencing
chain.
is.
I think you're
Yeah,
referring
the
to chain link fencing is what we call it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need to
Yep.
get rid of that
Yep.
completely.
Yep. Great. Thank you. And Moira, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just had a quick question, somewhat related to fencing. There's that sort of like path that runs behind the houses on Hino Street that's fenced off. Is that technically part of the park, or is that private property there? Not sure if you know what I'm referring
I
to.
think, sorry, you're referring to that kind of back alley space.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
wondering.
I know the property line back there kind of shifts around, so I couldn't tell you exactly where the delineation is, but I know we don't have the rights to say turn that entire alley into a green space, for example, off the bat.
Okay, thank you. I was just thanks.
So we'll move on to the court. Any thoughts about you want to share about the court, what you value about it the most? What would you hope you would see in a renovated park? We know that the court gets quite a bit of use, and if you remember from my timeline, you know, it's been a while since it's been resurfaced, but we, you know, are aware that it gets quite a bit of use. So anyone have any feedback about the basketball court? It's also a place like the play where seating, any of the seating is sort of outside of the fence. There's a little bit of, I guess, some player benches maybe right tucked inside, but more substantial, which you can see in the bottom right. But
It's
the
also
fence, sorry, I'll just say that the fence along the sidewalk there, which you can see in the bottom right, also is a lower fence. It's taller where it interfaces with the garden. So that's a place where there's sort of mixed height of fence going around the basketball court.
I think it'd be nice to have some benches within the fence area. When my siblings and I go to play, we usually just have to leave our stuff on the floor because there's nowhere to
Mhm.
leave anything.
Yeah.
And then my brother loves basketball, so he goes there often. And his complaint is that apparently the hoops aren't the same height and neither are regulation height. So I don't know
Oh,
anything about that, just passing that along.
okay. That's good feedback. Thank you. Different height. That's
That's like an unfair advantage for a
yes.
game.
Yes, they must have to. That's really funny.
Okay.
Hecky, I was also gonna say that
Yeah.
a few of us have observed or seen kids riding their bikes on the court and
Yeah.
walking through the court. So if anyone has any, even if you don't play basketball, if there are other ways that you use the court, we'd love to hear about that. Or if you
Yeah, it's great.
envision other ways of using, the court while maintaining it as a place for basketball as well. We'd love to talk about those possibilities.
Yes, it's a great prompt.
I mean, would this be a segue to um, the young guy that talked about the skating or the business, common business that he mentioned earlier? I'm sorry, I forget
Yeah, the
Yes,
his name,
parkour.
right? The
parkour.
parkour. Could, I mean, to your idea earlier, could your vision be a mix use of that basketball court slash skating park? Have you seen that elsewhere? Because the way I've seen it, again, I'm going to refer to another park in the neighborhood along Harvard Avenue and Western Avenue over there by Harvard Dome. They have a Bruins skating rink there. And I see skateboarders also use that same rink. I'm not saying we're going to put a skating rink on top of a basketball court or and I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying some rendition some if we envision, really like a wish list, could there be some way to incorporate the basketball court and the skating area without having to change things around? So I'm asking the young guy that mentioned this earlier. Is he
Yeah.
still on the line?
Yeah, it looks like he is David.
Okay.
That would be David.
I think we would have to double check the regulation size basketball court and make sure that we're not having sort of physical elements that are in the way of that.
Yeah.
But overlaying sort of multi-use on top of the court, um, like the very simple version is like hopscotch, but there are so many other patterns that are about science and math through movement that are also happening on courts as an overlay, which might be an interesting option.
Or
Oh,
we
that's a good
sometimes
idea.
will
Yeah.
put a little, a trail through it, a paved painted trail that, is a trike loop or for children learning to ride a bike. An open paved surface can be, really multi-use for all ages in lots of ways. And we just need to make sure that, there's no obstruction so that safe basketball can happen. Um,
You know, that's a good idea because there's a adult dis disabled group of young adults or older adults that use the park during the daytime, the basketball area, for exercise and like activities. And they're right over there on Rugby Road. So there's
Okay.
some
Yes.
kind of adult daycare
Yeah.
that comes over, and they park their van there and they get out and they do a lot of different I don't know what they're doing over there, but they figure out some kind of activities to do without anything. So if you incorporate something like that, that probably would be helpful to that organization.
Yep. That's great. That's great. I think, let's see, there are other comments, question about could we add lights? That'll be a conversation we'll be having with Max. Danielle's saying she's seen the court used for soccer as well. So there already is multi-sport use on this court, which is great to confirm. Jennifer asked a great question. Are there bleachers anywhere around the court? Sort of how do you sit and watch? There are not currently, Jennifer, and we sort of just generally, our observation is that there's just not a lot of accommodation for seating, whether you're playing and want to just put your sweatshirt on a bench or you're there to spectate. There's not a lot of seating. There's just sort of photos, oh, excuse me, their courts, excuse me, their benches sort of outside of the fence, sort of feeling disconnected. Any other comments about the courts? So if you missed the first pulse survey that I mentioned earlier, do not fear, because there's a second survey that is associated more with the content that we've been discussing tonight. The QR code is here on the screen. We really encourage you to respond to it, and please share with family, folks you live with, your neighbors, with everybody. The more responses we get, the more helpful it is to us. It's more meaningful, and it just really helps us together set the course for the next chapter of this park. Max has put a link in the chat as well, so please be sure to copy that link and really email to your friends and your family. Great question, Moira. How long will the survey be open? I don't have an answer to that. Have we decided that? And I forgot. I don't know. Max, do you have a
We're going to
response to
leave
that?
it open for about 2 weeks.
Okay, great. So please share it around. We would love to hear from folks who weren't able to attend. And for those of you tonight who, think about it for a day or two and fill out the survey as you've had more time to think about our conversation tonight. When you have more ideas that you're bubbling up for all of you, with the new great ideas for Penniman.
And Kaki, if I may, I
Yeah.
know, Lily, you mentioned that there are some folks in the community where English is not their first language. So if you have any ideas or suggestions on how we can reach those folks, we'd be more than open to listening. So we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to be a part of this process because they're ultimately the ones that are using this space. So any feedback is welcome.
Yes, that's
And
great.
also, Lily, if they need translation or interpretation, they can ask in advance.
Yes, that is a question on the survey. So we'll look forward to having you take that.
And
Go ahead, Kaki.
Oh, sorry, just seeing Danielle's comment about could the QR code kind of be spread around, be posted around the community a little bit.
Absolutely. Yes, please share. Great. So we'll leave that survey open, as we said, for a few more weeks. And my contact information is on the next slide here. If anything else comes up in between now and then, please feel free to reach out to me. You all have been so great tonight. We heard we heard a lot of really great stuff. We're targeting our next meeting to be in the winter of 2025. Whether or not that ends up happening, it may end up being in the early part of 2026, but sometime in the winter. We'll keep you posted. Please remember to add your contact information to stay up to date, and we'll look forward to seeing you at our next meeting.